So let's talk about the TPUC. How long ago did you set up the TPUC?
I don't know, probably about 2.5 years ago. About 2.5 years ago. I couldn't tell you exactly. Yeah, I just sat at the computer one night and looking at domain names. Didn't really know what I was doing. Being a builder, a carpenter, I really didn't know what I was doing. And I'd asked a mate of mine, I said, how do you build websites? And he said, front page. He said, that's the easiest to use. So I decided to use front page. And it all come because I watched a film about 9/11, basically. That's what really started this whole process, was a film. One simple film about 9/11, which actually went completely over my head when I first watched it. And then when I watched it the second time, I saw a camera shake and that was enough.
Was that the inspiration to set up the TPUC?
Yeah, I wanted to find out about what had actually going on, and I wanted to find out a little bit more about the world I lived in. I don't know if I went back to that point now. I wonder if I'd have still explored it knowing what I know now, I suppose. I don't know. But yeah, it was meant to happen. Everything's meant to happen, so that was meant to happen. But no, I saw this film that was given by a student from a university. I was working on his dad's house, pitching a roof. Locally, and he gave me this film to watch, Loose Change 2. I watched it, and then I watched a few other things about 9/11, and then suddenly realised that it was no point arguing about what had happened. It was the fact why it happened was more important, and who would be behind it. And that really sort of, then I started to look at 7/7, and I got involved with July 7th a little bit and did bits and pieces and sort of helped, and then I started to really see agendas. I started to really wonder what all these agendas were about and why were people saying certain things, but they were frightened to go over the line in the sand. It was like someone had drawn a line in the sand. They're very frightened to actually step over that or say something publicly or on a public forum or on a website or whatever. So that really intrigued me. So I wanted to really find out, I suppose, what would happen if you did cross the line in the sand. How far can you push things? So I started to experiment, I suppose, and I started to talk a lot about the original website, talked a lot about the Catholic Church, it talked a lot about the Nazis, and sort of gone down all these avenues to try and find out what was really going on in the world. But what happened was, when I actually first set up the website, I put a telephone number on there, which is really not, you don't really do that. But I put a telephone number on there, and it was amazing, the amount of people who called me. One of my favourite ladies that used to call me was a lady called Elizabeth Beckett, whose father was a High Court circuit judge, Judge Beckett. And Elizabeth spoke the way that I would envisage the Queen speaks. And she was so comical. She was 83 years old. And she had the most phenomenal sense of humour. And there was like a class divide was bridged through me and Elizabeth. She's not here now, she's moved on to a far better place. And I'm 100% sure she is in a far better place. Because, and I don't do all the religious bit, but I know there's something more than this, without a doubt. I know in my heart there's something a lot more than this. So anyway, Elizabeth started to give me a load of information about stuff that I just did not understand in any shape, form or fashion, about Acts of Parliament, about laws, Chacos Archipelagos. There was all sorts she was giving to me. And she was ringing me nearly every other day, and phenomenal sense of humour, really got on well with her. And it was sad actually, because she was very religious, she was very Christian. And I started to delve into religion. I did an experiment. I actually went into Christianity headlong. I did it deliberately. I allowed myself to succumb to its coercion, to accept that there is this thing called God, which really translates as gold, oil and diamonds, because that's truly what people worship. And obviously the Goldman Sachs, head of Goldman Sachs recently defended the bonuses that the bankers were getting because they were doing God's work. And I found that very interesting, because if God created the world, then God created commercialism, the commercial construct. And if that's the sort of, so I started to talk about these sort of things, and being very Christian, she got very annoyed with me, and then didn't stop phoning. But not only did Elizabeth phone, but a lot of people phoned and give me a lot of information.
So the information was coming to you. Was that because of the site? It was like a magnet for information?
Yeah, it's what it basically did. It was a platform, I suppose. It was a platform for people to say what they wanted to say, but couldn't say it any other way.
When people would bring information and ideas to you, would you look to validate them?
Yeah, definitely. I did at first. Then all of a sudden, I started to realise that I could use my own instincts to validate it. Whether did it sound right? Does it make sense? You know, and excuse me. And that's what I did. I started to use my own instincts, and so I stopped looking for validation on things. Still to this day, now and again, I got caught in the trap of looking for validation, because it's what the mind wants to do. So I do get caught by it a couple of, but not very. I've very purposely now do not listen to anything, do not watch anything, do not read anything. I keep myself completely clear of anyone else's opinion, because then I can only formulate my opinion upon what my instincts tell me and not what my head's telling me from repeating the words of other men and women.
The TPUC has gone from a project into
it's gone
something
mad.
Snowballed.
Yeah, it just went
almost indescribable.
It is, yeah, it is actually, because it's a tiny little website, this tiny little website that was very poorly built, and then obviously a mate of mine, Dan, who I'd met through TPUC, he came along and he was a webmaster, and he says, look, I can redesign this, I'll do it totally free, I'll maintain it, can I help? And I said, yeah, if you can do something with it, because it's crap. And he did. He redesigned the whole thing. He got it working properly. He set up all the databases, changed the servers to better servers. We've actually, the server people we use are terrific. They actually gave us 3 months free because they like what we do. So they maintain it. They up the bandwidth whenever we need bandwidth ups. They up the space. They don't really charge us any more money for it, which is fantastic. We started to pull in about 2.5 million hits a week. Which just blew us away, the amount of people who were interested in what we were talking about. And we suddenly realised that it's just a platform. That's all it is. It's just a website. It's called the People's United Community, but that's not something it is. It's something I'd like it to be. And one day it might be. But it's really just a vessel. You know, it's just, I suppose, we could say something that people are legally committed to. That's actually a wrong description, I suppose. But it's just a platform. It's just a way of getting to talk about things that you want to talk about without any boundaries.
When did it go from having a voice on a website to that voice having a microphone in his hand and then getting
Oh, that was fascinating. And that all came from a friend called Brian Gerrish. Brian had recognised something about, he actually fooled me into doing a talk. I went down to meet some of his friends, and there was about 30 of them getting together, or about 20, 30, I can't remember. We all sat in this room, and I sat down, just didn't know what was going on, and then all of a sudden he says, I'd like to introduce John Harris, he's going to be talking to us tonight. And I looked at him and went, what? And he knew, I suppose in his way, that he knew he had to drop me in at the deep end to get me to do it, if he said you're going to do this, because I've never ever had the ability to actually stand in front of an audience and talk.
How did it feel?
At first, very nerve-wracking, but then it became very comfortable. And a bit like today, I suppose. It becomes comfortable. If you're comfortable I suppose when I've preached a lot. I recognise that, looking back at what I've done, I've preached. And I'm no better than the people who are behind what's going on, I suppose. But it was something I had to do to recognise I was doing it in the first place.
What was the content of those early talks?
The content was, I was trying to tell people this is the truth. I was trying to say, look, this is truth, this is the truth, this is the truth. And the thing is, it's like...
So in essence, that's kind of stayed the same.
It has kind of stayed the same, but I want people to explore it themselves. It's my truth, and you can't see things through my eyes. You can't feel things the way I feel things. We are unique. We are so unique. It's phenomenal. So you can't see the things the way I see it. You have to see it your own way. And to do it, and if I can help you to the room and just turn the light on and say, well, look, it's all there. You just got to have a look. and decide for yourself what's going on and what's good and what's not good, and what's morality. But I just try to say to people, if you're going to measure something, measure from one standard, and measure from that standard of morality, a value that you hold in your heart, not a value that's been installed in you through mechanisms of coercion.
Yeah. This isn't just angry fist waving for you, is it? You've dedicated your life to this.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, and it came with a price.
What's the price?
Price initially was my family, and it's in a lot of ways I hurt my family great in ways that I left my family. I got delusions of grandeur.
From doing the talks?
Yeah, because of the interest I was getting, because of I was being treated like a superstar, and it started to affect me in a way that I never ever perceived. And then I started to question the morality of doing the talks. Was I doing it for the benefit of everybody else, or was I doing it for a selfish benefit?
What would you conclude?
I was actually doing it for everybody else, but part of the process, the mind was telling me there was a selfish benefit to it. Talking to people and actually starting to get people's admiration is a great way of getting in women's knickers.
Did you feel guilty for enjoying what you were doing?
All the time. But that's the morality that brought me back to my family. It was the morality. I suddenly realised that if I have no loyalty to my family, and I have no loyalty to the ones that truly love me the most, then how can I possibly have loyalty to the people that I'm trying to help? I can't. It's impossible.
So what changed?
The heartstrings pulled, and I decided that I wanted to become a better man. And I didn't want to be this egotistical, frightened man that I was. I wanted to become a loving dad, and I wanted to become a loving partner to Heather. And I wanted to, want's the wrong word, it's a need. I need to become a better man. I want to be better. Not better in status, not better with flash cars, big houses, whatever, but loving and caring, a servant to my family, to put them before myself, to become selfless, to love my family for what they are and not what I want them to be. Not to try and mould them or change them into what I want them to be. To offer them unconditional, benevolent support and love and compassion.
So proud of you?
Yeah, I suppose in a way, pride's a really seriously dodgy thing though. And I know they are deep down. Heather's my biggest critic. It's probably why if I'm going to argue with anyone, I'll argue with Heather. But Hev's very blunt, and she hits me between the eyes, not physically, verbally, if she feels that I'm getting above my station again. And most people would say that I'm actually wrong in using that terminology, because none of us have a station. We're all but I see where she's coming from, and she tries to keep me grounded, trying to keep my feet on the ground. And I've been subjected to so much information and so much knowledge over the last 2.5 years that it's and some of the stuff that I know and some of the stuff I've been told about, the stuff I can't talk about it. I just can't talk about it because it wouldn't do any good by talking about it. It's stuff that will come out in the end, but it has to come out in its own time when the time is ready for that, and not before. And I'm not allowed to force that either. I have to allow that to... It's going to come out in the book. Now I've changed the way that the book's running and the way the book's being wrote. It will come out, but it'll be wrote in fiction.
This journey, is it coincidence? Is it fate? Is it destiny?
Destiny. There is no coincidence. Everything is meant to be. In my life anyway, everything is meant to be. And through my experiences, I can 100% say that everything that I've experienced has been for a specific purpose, to make me a better man. Everything. And that's the heartache, the sorrow, the joy, the laughter, everything that I've experienced. And I would not change anything, because if I actually went and changed anything at all, I wouldn't be what I am today. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. I hold values in my heart, and that everyone should have the same standard of living, that no one should have to pay to live.
If you could have your own way, wave a magic wand, can you paint me a picture of what this country looks like in 5 years?
It wouldn't be a country.
What would it be?
It would just be a landmass that people live on, who can move freely from it and away from it and back to it whenever they want to. There would be no controlling mechanisms whatsoever. The monarchy wouldn't exist anymore, because there would be someone who would have took us from a point of monarchy to a point where the monarchy are not needed anymore. There wouldn't be central point of administration and law, because it wouldn't be needed anymore. There'd be no democracy, because it wouldn't be needed anymore. No one would have to pay to live. There would be no poverty. No boundaries, no borders.
Is that where the world needs to go?
Definitely. In my view, definitely. But it can only be done by undoing one legal mechanism that created the situation we're in.
A lot of people feel that you have a big role to play in the world becoming a better place.
No comment. And I'm only saying that because I don't want to get... See, the trouble is with this stuff, it's so easy to fall into the ego trap. If I have a role to play, then I will play that role whenever I'm asked to.
Do you feel that that role is giving people a platform to have a voice?
Yeah, in a way. But the problem is that the things I perceive, the only way I see this actually coming to some form of conclusion or some way of actually sorting out is through something that would be called a benign dictator. And people are very frightened of these two words. Well, they're not frightened of benign, but they're definitely frightened of the word dictator. But see, the thing is, everybody does as they're told every single day. Doesn't matter what the legislation says, 99% of people out there do as they're told. Now, if the legislation was to change to the greater benefit of everybody and not the great detriment as it is now, they would still do as they're told. But they would suddenly realise that things are changing actually for the better. That this island has been in the control of a corporation for at least 1,000 years. At least 1,000 years. If not,
coming to an end?
Definitely. It ends soon. Very, very soon. They can't continue because they have no means of continuing the intent. The intent must be maintained. The intent must be increased. And the intent is going to change, and it's progressive. And when the good intent comes about, then it will become ferociously progressive, and it will just wipe out the commercial constructs and everything that's involved in it.
The government clearly know who you are.
Yes.
You've done talks all over the country.
Yes.
You're on YouTube. Your website has millions of hits every week. Do you think that they're afraid of you?
No.
Afraid of what you can do?
No. No, they've been waiting. They've been waiting for someone who will offer them amnesty. They've been waiting for someone who will come along and say, look, don't worry about what you've done. It's what you do from this point on that's important. So they're looking for amnesty. They don't want to do this anymore. They really don't. They know that what they're doing is wrong. They know... The sadness of this is that there is a lot of people out there that are involved in the commercial construct and are doing things every single day for one reason, that's basically to survive. So they have to go to work every single day and know that what they're doing is not moral. But they have to do it because they feel that there is no other way they can support their families. They are taxed to the hilt. Everything that they've got, they are threatened with its removal if they do not comply. That's a very, very sad situation, because that means that the human being is being controlled by a construct and can't escape that construct. And it gets worse day in, day out. They want a way out. But they then just drop everything and come forward and say, well, I've done this and I've done this and this is really how things work. Because they've still got that fear of saving their own hides. Through amnesty, that's offered. They can save their own hides and they can actually come forward and say, yeah, what you've been talking about is right. This is what is going on. And I not only will I back up what you're saying, I will provide evidence of it. Once that happens, it will become a chain reaction. I'm not here to I'm not here to punish anybody. I'm here to open my arms and say, you're welcome back to the family.
Do you feel like Morpheus giving people the green pill to show them what
Yeah, there's a funny story about that. If you knew what it was going to do, would you have took it in the first place?
Do you think people are ready to know the reality of the world that they live in?
Yeah, definitely. They want to know now. Yeah, they really want to
It's
know.
the right time for them.
Yeah, they just want to know. They've had enough of it. The perceptions that they've had for so many years, and you can only hold on to something for so long, and then this is why religion's failing. This is why belief systems are failing, because people have held on to these things for so long and seen nothing happen. And blind faith only goes so far. And the fact is that more and more people are questioning now. They're actually starting to question the doctrines, the dogmas. They're actually starting to say, hold on a minute, this is not actually right. There's something very wrong here. And because of that, the institutions who deliver the doctrine and that are starting to become very panicky. But again, they require amnesty. Forgetfulness is phenomenal.
Even the people that, they've been on the receiving end of you telling people about paying parking tickets, about dealing with bailiffs, about legislation, about law, about taxes. You've opened people's eyes to this, but for every action there's a reaction.
Absolutely.
So the people that have been on the negative end of the public knowing the truth, how do they feel?
It's quite interesting actually, because whenever I talk to someone from, who did I have a recent chat with? I had a very, very interesting chat with actually. Oh, a fines office. I had a chat with a lady at the fines office, and I just asked her. I stated the obvious, and the funny thing was that she agreed with everything I said. And I said, I know you're only doing your job. I know that it's not up to you, and I know deep down in your heart, if you didn't have to do that job, you wouldn't. And I said, I know if...
Okay, go for it. Final question. Okay, the people that watch this, the people that feel like they've had their eyes peeled open to see this amazing truth of the world that they live in, and they're a little bit scared, they're a little bit worried, they're a little bit afraid, they don't quite know what the future has in store, what would you say to them to assure them that everything's going to be okay?
Learn to trust, or remember to trust, and just trust that everything is going to be okay. The world, as you see it now, is unfolding in front of everybody's eyes. We've never had to prove that people have been doing things wrong. That's proved by their own actions. And it's becoming very evident at this moment in time, even more so. We don't have to provide any evidence. They're providing their own evidence. This was always the way it was going to work out. What's been constructed and what's been engineered, and it has been 100% engineered. Whether people want to believe that doesn't matter. It has been engineered, I know this. It's being engineered to collapse, and it's being engineered to change, because it's the only way it can be done. And control of this beautiful place we live is being relinquished from humanity. It has to be. Because we cannot go... The biggest arrogance that humanity holds is that it could actually destroy this place. That's laughable. Absolutely laughable. That Mother Nature or whatever's out there, whatever the years is, I know there's something out there. I know that it's helping me. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it is. And to be quite honest, I don't want to know. I don't want to spoil the surprise. I like surprises. And this is a real cool surprise. Mother Nature could wipe us out in the blink of an eye. She's done it. I'm sure she has many, many times. We've had many, many chances over probably thousands of years to get this right. Well, unfortunately, because we've proved after time and time again that basically we couldn't organise a piss up in a brewery if we tried successfully, because there's always conflict and there's always someone knows better, then the decision was made that it had to be taken out of our hands. And because it has been taken out of our hands, then that means we can't cock it up. We can't stop what's going to happen now. It's been progressive and it's carrying on, but it probably needs just a little bit of help along the way. That's going to come very, very soon. But everything is going to work out exactly how it's meant to. And we will live in a peaceful place and we can start repairing the damage that we've done.
Brilliant. John Harris?
Thank you.
I had to stop there because that was a lovely way to sign off, don't you think?
Your eyes are glistening.
Huh? Nice.